Uh, well, clearly the North Carolina game wasn't what we'd hoped for, or uh, we would certainly expect and like to play better than we did in that game, especially defensively. And we put that behind us to try to learn from it, move on, and get ready to play a really good Virginia Tech team on the road Saturday. I think Blacksburg is one of the tougher places to play in our league. Uh, they're always really physical on defense and have a lot of good athletes. Their quarterback's playing at a very high level. They got a good running back, good receivers, and be a stiff challenge for us up there on the road.
Okay, questions for Coach Johnson?
You're facing a team, like you said, is real tough on defense. This will be a good test for your offensive line, just because they pile up a lot of sacks so far this season.
Yeah, no, they're really athletic on defense. Kid number 60 is all over the place when you turn the tape on. He's a heck of a player, and he's been playing for about 3 years now, and I think he's playing his best football by far. But the other kid, number 7, the Ellickman kid, has been playing the defensive end. He's played a lot, so they're very talented on defense. They've got a couple of probably NFL prospects at linebacker, and then they're usually pretty good in the secondary.
Sorry, I know you addressed this yesterday, but can you update Freddie Burden and Justin status?
You don't have any nothing new on those guys. I don't have anything new on those guys. Guys, we have a conference rule that we're not supposed to talk about injuries. I mean, that was voted on by the coaches, and I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but, you're going to get the report on Thursday, and I know it makes it hard for you to do your deal, but it's a conference policy.
Other than the results, what is it that Virginia Tech's defense does that makes it effective that maybe you would like to see your defense do?
Well, I just think they're really physical. They run to the ball. They create a lot of negative plays. Historically, they've created a lot of turnovers, a lot of sacks, a lot of minus yardage plays. And when you do that, they create a lot of field position and a lot of opportunities for their offense.
But is there an underlying strategy or tactic that?
Well, yeah, they're very aggressive and they got good players. I think Bud does a really good job. He's been doing it for a long time. They are who they are. I mean, they've got an identity, and that's the way they play.
If there was one thing that could help the defense right now that they could do, what would it be? What's number one?
We get off the field on third down. Yeah. I mean, that creates most all the problems. Not all of them, but it would solve a lot if you could get off the field on third down.
And the issue in that is?
The issue is we're not making any plays, and what we're doing is not working, so we've got to try to look to do something else on third downs.
We've asked a lot about, sending more than 4, and it seems almost invariable that if you send 4, it doesn't affect the quarterback. Would you want to see more than 4 consistently? I mean, I think there's a point which if you blitz so often, then become predictable that way. But is that what you would want?
There was plenty of times in the Carolina game that we sent 5. There was times we sent 6. You also got to give the other team credit sometimes. If they're pretty good and you send 6, they get it out fast. This comes back to like what you're talking about. You got to cover a little better. You just got to tie it all together. You got to know that when you got 6 or 7 blitzing, that it's going to come out faster. Hopefully. And if you've only got 4 rushing, it's not going to come out as fast most of the time. So we got as good a pressure really defensively. If you break it down, you look at it, we get as good a pressure when we send 3 as when we send 4 or 5. Just seems to be that's kind of the way it's been.
I'm curious, do you think players, and both sides, but maybe especially the defense, after a game like that just kind of embarrassment and knowing that we can't play that badly spurs something in them to play a little better going forward?
I think here's what has to happen no matter what sport you play or what you're doing or anything else. When a game like that happens and you play that poorly, you have to be able to look at the tape and you have to say, I know why this happened. And it was because either my eyes were in the wrong place or, you know, where you run into problems is if a guy comes out of it and he doesn't know why it happened. You know, if he's thinking, man, I'm doing what they're asking me to do and this ain't working, then that's where you run into problems. I think as long as kids or people or players or whatever can look at the tape and see what should be happening and within a modicum or whatever word I'm looking for think, you know, I could do that. I just didn't. If I'm supposed to have my eyes, if I'm supposed to be a 3 technique on the guard and I'm getting reached by the center, then I'm not looking at the guard. You know what I'm saying? My eyes are in the backfield or whatever. That doesn't have anything to do with physical ability always. It has to do with leverage and we got to coach them. If we're not getting it done, we got to coach them better to do it, you know. What, with our kids? No, I think you talk to them as much as I do. I don't think you're going to hear one of those kids on defense say, man, I don't know what's happening. I'm doing what they're asking me to do, and it just don't seem to work. You know, because when you can look at the tape, it's like I've always said, I go back, you know, most of my background has been offensively for the last 30 years, but I coach defense too. But that's why I like our offense so much. It's pretty simple. You turn the tape on, they can see why it didn't work. There ain't any debate. You know, if I've got the linebacker and the linebacker's making the tackle, there's not any debate. I know what happened. Now, if I'm the offensive tackle and you're telling me to go block the linebacker and a guy's, you know, holding me or squeezing me and I can't get off the line, and then I'm going to be frustrated and I'm going to come in on Monday and when I watch the tape, I'm going to go, man, you're asking me to do something that's impossible. I can't get that guy with this guy holding me or whatever. That's when the frustration comes in. Not when, you know, if I'm supposed to cover you and you beat me and get open, if I got you, then I got to look within. I got to say, okay, do I got to come up and press or try to knock you off your route, or if I got to lay back, or if you're running by me and maybe I got to back up or whatever. But the problem would be if somebody's running out in the flat and catching the ball and you don't know who's got them. And when you get in there on film on Monday and the coach can't tell you what happened, Coach, who's got him? Good question. I don't know. Then you got problems. You know, that doesn't, you know, I watch the tape repeatedly over and over, and I watch it with the defensive coaches, and I watch it, and I understand what's happening. Now, is somebody going to make the perfect call every time? No. Just like I don't make the perfect call on offense every time. But as long as it's sound and you have a chance to execute it, that's all you can ask for. You know, they got coaches that get paid too. They're trying to make the perfect call on their side. So if I'm the offensive guy and I'm thinking you're sending 7, I'm not going to stand back there and hold the ball. I'm going to get it out quick and throw 3-step, or I'm going to check or whatever. So, and some of that comes into play too. But I don't think that we have those problems. I mean, I've had those before where the kids would come and say, Coach, you got to help us. And we're not, I mean, that's not the issue. We're not having those problems. We just got to play better.
How different is this offense, Virginia Tech's, from what they have been?
That's different from what they've done. I mean, they're very similar to North Carolina in a lot of facets, a lot of the same sets, a lot of the same plays. All those teams anymore. I mean, for lack of a better term, you can call it. I call it the NCAA offense. The majority of teams run gun stuff, zone reads, quarterback powers, bubble screens. All the stuff that all the teams run.